this is Jamie from Caps Computers, and today we are reviewing Call of Duty Modern Warfare. This title from Activision and Infinity Ward is available now for PlayStation 4, Xbox One, and Windows PC. At the time of the recording this video, the game cost $59.99 US or $99.95 Australian. What is old is new, as Activision and Infinity Ward is going back to one of the most beloved titles in the Call of Duty franchise and giving it a reboot. Call of Duty Modern Warfare is a gritty new take on special operations in a world caught up in terrorism and proxy wars. Players will traverse morally vague areas through the single-player campaign before continuing the story in cooperative special operations mode. The multiplayer component of the game is also getting an overhaul with new 64-player ground war mode and a revamped perks system. It has been 12 years since the release of Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare. Back then, the United States was 2 years deep into the war on terror in Afghanistan, and the Iraq War was in its early days. Since then, the world has changed a lot. Terrorism in Europe and North America is a more common occurrence. Proxy wars are back on the menu as superpowers jostle for control. The writers have opted to completely revamp the Modern Warfare lore to reflect our modern-day world while slotting in familiar faces into new roles. The writers promised a grittier, more mature story compared to previous titles in the series. While the story will not join the ranks of works that will be debated academically for years to come, Call of Duty Modern Warfare still managed to add some plot points that will encourage gamers to think about war and their actions, such as civilian casualties and the line between freedom fighter and terrorist. On the other hand, the game still has plenty of shallow action movie moments. Creating the more mature and thoughtful approach to conflict was a good start, but I would have liked to see the writers go all the way with the approach. It is worth noting the inherent contradiction of Call of Duty Modern Warfare. On one hand, the writers deliver a hard-hitting message about the horrors of chemical weapons in their single-player campaign. On the other hand, white phosphorus is treated casually as a kill streak reward. Incendiary devices are banned under international law when civilians could be hit. Some military organizations, like the U.S. Army Command and General Staff School, explicitly ban the use of on humans, military and civilian. Sure, the use of white phosphorus is just another entry in the long list of immoral and unethical behavior in the Call of Duty franchise lore. Yes, the developers are absolutely correct when they argue multiplayer isn't realistic, so the use of white phosphorus shouldn't be taken seriously. The real problem is the consistency in the message. The writers want the player to be horrified at the use of chemical weapons in single player, then expect players to promptly ignore that message when another chemical weapon is flung around as a kill streak reward for 10 kills. Infinity Ward can't have it both ways. The developers are much better off committing to one message or the other. Call of Duty Modern Warfare goes back to the traditional layout of a single-player campaign, multiplayer, and some sort of cooperative mode. The return of the single-player campaign is a nice feeling after Black Ops 4 unceremoniously dropped the mode last year. Modern Warfare's campaign goes back to basics with a straightforward campaign without many of the frills the series has experimented with over the years. It is not a long campaign, but the developers maintain a good pace that keeps the action going. The campaign is mostly the intense infantry combat the franchise is known for, but the action is occasionally broken up with some decent stealth and vehicle sections. My only complaint is the length of the campaign. It's short enough to tackle in one marathon session. This is not a game for players who only plan on enjoying the solo content. The cooperative special ops mode serves as an extension to the single-player campaign. Groups of up to 4 players tackle the multi-map missions together. Special ops is incredibly punishing. Stealth is an option, but usually players will have to get into an all-out assault at some point. The enemy spawn rates are intense once bullets start flying in both directions. Groups need to be very coordinated in their actions to succeed. I personally had a hard time finding public groups in matchmaking that could complete missions based on the difficulty. It's an incredibly challenging experience, but success tastes so sweet. I like that Spec Ops and multiplayer progression is tied together with some minor modifications specific to their mode. It makes switching between the two very easy, as players are never losing any progression by choosing one activity or the other. Weapon loadouts and perks remain the same between the modes, which is a bit restrictive with the base 6 loadout slots. The loadouts used in multiplayer are not always a loadout players will want to take into Spec Ops. While certain Spec Ops maps offer free suppressors during the prep phase, players will often use the weapon lockers to tweak their loadouts if they spend any time in multiplayer before jumping into Spec Ops. I believe separate loadout slots would have been a more efficient alternative. Multiplayer offers all the traditional modes we've come to love in a Call of Duty title. The fact that these modes have barely changed over the years is a testament to their solid design. This year, the Ground War title has been moved to a new Combined Arms mode for 64 players. It doesn't seek to replicate the full-blown Combined Arms experience found in Battlefield or Arma titles. Instead, Infinity Ward tries to focus more on the infantry combat experience that Call of Duty is known for by augmenting it with lighter vehicles like scout helicopters and APCs. Ground War strikes the right balance by making vehicles deadly enough to be a priority without being so overpowered they dominate. The map design helps a lot in this regard, as the large maps have plenty of tight turns and indoor areas that allow infantry to get the upper hand on vehicles. The biggest issue with the introduction of vehicles in large maps is the number of snipers who take helicopters on one-way trips to the highest point in the map. These snipers are often a pain to dislodge due to their high angle and the fact they often end up hogging helicopters. Sorting out these issues is likely best done through map design by having more cover routes to attack these high sniper nests. The map design in multiplayer is good but falls short of greatness. Infinity Ward is almost completely dedicated to the 3-lane map design for traditional multiplayer. The real difference between maps lays in the side routes available and the actual size of the maps. While the 3-lane design works well for balance, the maps also become rather predictable. The maps are generally larger in size in Modern Warfare, focusing more on long engagement ranges. There are a few maps designed for closer engagement distances, but most favor rifle ranges. It's a shame because the smaller, more intense maps often become the iconic ones in the Call of Duty franchise. This year's perk system feels great. Each loadout equips 3 perks plus the player's field upgrades and weapon perks. The field upgrades are active abilities that can be triggered on a cooldown. These abilities aren't enough to turn the tide of an entire battle in the player's favor, but they're usually enough to give them a slight edge. The field upgrades are a mix of old Call of Duty standards like trophy systems and new abilities like weapon drops. Gunplay hasn't changed much in Call of Duty Modern Warfare. It is still the arcade action FPS we've all come to know and love. I like the ability to change loadouts within the game. While the field upgrades can only be changed in the lobby, being able to tweak the rest of the loadout on the fly cuts down the need to back out of games to change loadouts and allows players to deal with niche builds that may be causing headaches. It's one of those subtle quality of life changes that I hope never goes away. Balancing is always a work in progress for a competitive FPS, but Modern Warfare came out of the gate at a playable state. Since launch, Infinity Ward has been firing off a series of balancing patches to smooth things out. The PC port is one of the better ports in the series. Infinity Ward offers a solid set of graphical and control options that PC gamers expect from their games. Past titles have always felt a little clumsy with the default mouse and keyboard controls due to the kill streak bindings, but the default layout feels like one of the best so far. The menus are laid out well and works perfectly with the mouse. My only complaint is accessing blueprint armories and the loadout menu isn't explicitly clear. A slight change to the UI to indicate which button to press to access the armory would have been appreciated. Call of Duty Modern Warfare looks excellent. The artists have done a great job recreating different hotspots around the world for their maps. The character design is spot on, closely replicating the equipment of special operations and their local counterparts, while still offering some individual flair. The audio experience is generally good, though some work needs to be done for multiplayer balancing. The voice acting is excellent as expected from a major Call of Duty release. Most of the actors are fresh faces to the franchise, but Infinity Ward have found actors with plenty of experience in film and television. The soundtrack is excellent. The music does not stray too far from the traditional video game music style, but does a great job of matching the moody and intense atmosphere of the game. The sound effects are terrific, with a good variety of explosions and gunfire that creates a chaotic atmosphere. The technical execution is where Call of Duty Modern Warfare struggles. I applaud the developers for adding multiple audio mixes to suit a variety of playstyles and audio setups. Competitive players with headphones will likely opt for the more compressed boost mixes, while PvE gamers looking for the full cinematic experience can use the dynamic home theater mode. On the other hand, footsteps in multiplayer need some serious work. Tracking approaching enemies using headphones is a long-time honored tradition for the franchise. Currently, footsteps are incredibly loud, especially crouch walking. It's extremely difficult to flank on quieter modes like gunfight when players can hear incoming enemies with such ease. Infinity Ward has already pushed out some patches to make footsteps quieter, but plenty of work still needs to be done to hit the right balance. Rebooting one of the most beloved titles in the Call of Duty franchise is a big task. Modern Warfare has its flaws. The writers haven't quite decided if they're going for the gritty, thought-provoking title or a summer blockbuster-type thrill ride. The footstep volumes still need to be balanced, and the map design feel like they're being churned out from the same blueprint these days. On the other hand, the single-player campaign delivers a solid cinematic experience, and the multiplayer is fun as ever. Ground War and Special Ops is the sort of modernization that the franchise needs so dearly to stay fresh and relevant. While the reboot hasn't quite surpassed the original, the new Modern Warfare meets the challenge of filling those big shoes with gusto. I'm awarding the game 8.5 capsules out of 10. If you want to read this review, be sure to check out the link in the description or in the video's card. I hope to see you soon. This is Jamie from Caps Computers signing off. Hey YouTube, if you enjoyed this video, be sure to like it and subscribe to Caps Computers for more awesome videos. If you're looking for more videos to watch, check out our review of Red Dead Online here on the left. If you're looking for another FPS to play, check out our review of Borderlands 3 here on the right.